Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today we're talking about data visualization and reporting because at the end of the day, you have all these great things going on with your numbers in your business, but if you don't actually know how to look at the information or if the information isn't presented in a way that actually is valuable, then it's kind of like, what's the use of it? So I have a phenomenal expert on managing partner of Pineapple Consulting Group, Jack. So stay tuned.
Welcome to another episode of the Finance and the Accounting Show. This is the place to go for small business owners. If you're looking for a great way to understand the finance and the accounting side of your business, you're in the right place. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode.
So to keep you from waiting, let me just bring Jack in. Hey, Jack, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Terrell. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's definitely a pleasure to have you on. And I mean, like I said, living in the world that we both live in, from finance and accounting, what you do is so phenomenal and it's so essential in the world we currently live in.
I appreciate that.
No, I don't say it just to flatter you. It's one of those big challenges that we've had, and anytime like I've worked in for Fortune 500 companies to working with Wall Street analysts and even working with just operations teams, so where it's like we're beyond that time where people just see numbers on a page and people just follow. It's like you have to almost present the numbers in a way that tells a story. So I'm excited to talk about what you do. But before we jump into the details of it, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of, what's Jack's story?
Absolutely. It's not the most exciting story, honestly. It's probably fairly standard for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, where went to college, studied, in my case, something around like the math side of finance. Basically, I made up my own major in college. And then worked in the insurance world, worked in big corporate America, got a couple internships and all that stuff. Was there for a few years, and I was an analyst in a few different capacities. And it's kind of leading to kind of what we're going to be talking about. It's kind of where my love of dashboarding and things like that started. Because as an analyst throughout the company in the big corporate world, I was given 3 to 5 minutes to present to the CFO of the department or the higher ups, or my boss's boss's boss, whatever it was. So I had to communicate the whole story in 3 to 5 minutes, which you can't just throw numbers on a page. So I started making dashboards because it just communicated everything easier, and I didn't even have to talk in the meetings. So I loved that, did that for a while, had a wide variety of roles there, but really loved the analytics side. And because of that, and because of I always wanted to run my own business and be an entrepreneur, kind of merged those two up and founded Pineapple Consulting. Went full-time in it April of 2020, which at the time I thought was the middle of the pandemic, which is pretty funny to look back on now.
It's one of those very interesting timing pieces because I left my full-time corporate role back in March of 2020 and not realizing some people are saying, hey, we'll be back in the office 6 weeks from now. And then it came into hey, we'll be back 3 months from now. And then 6 months. Then it's just who knows?
Yeah, it's all right. I guess this is just what we're going with until it changes.
And that's why I think it's so interesting, because even as we've seen that change happen, it seems like it's even more vital to be able to actually tell a story with your numbers. So have you seen people gravitate more to the type of work that you do?
Yeah, I think so. Because there's kind of been two groups throughout the pandemic. This probably applies to a lot of different industries. For data specifically, for financial data, it's either been, I can't spend money on anything, and data and visualizing it is the last thing on my list. Or the folks who are, okay, we're in crunch time and I got to figure out what I'm spending on. I really got to know my numbers. So the only thing I'm going to invest in is something with data and visualization. And I've seen more people in that latter group than the former.
Gotcha. I mean, to me, that makes sense. I would say, as a business owner myself, and I mean, I have a little bit of a bias from my background in, FP&A, and where really, I mean, that was what my job was, is providing information to the board or to investors or to the leadership team of how do I tell the story with the numbers so that they know what actions they need to take next? I mean, and it seems like now is if you don't understand the story of your numbers, it's like, how in the world do you know what to do next?
Right. Yeah. What's guiding you? It's kind of that's what the data tells you. It's almost like a business coach that just kind of guides you in the right direction. Absolutely agree.
Awesome. Now, I'm curious, how did you come up with the name? Like, where did that come from?
So I would love to say it's just because I love pineapples, which I do. But so I'm originally from Connecticut, and I moved down here, and a big thing was Southern hospitality, right? So everybody's welcoming down here in Charlotte. And so pineapple is a representation of Southern hospitality, as a lot of folks know. Um, what really sold it for me, though, honestly, is pineapple kind of represents vacation to me as well. So I'm a beach kid. I love going to the beach for vacation. So my ideal vacation is like going to a beach, drinking something out of a pina colada, or like a pina colada out of a pineapple or something like that. And the average small business owner obviously can't really take that type of vacation where you just shut off and totally relax. So if I could help a business owner get to do that, even just for a day, have that vacation feeling, I would absolutely love it. So that's the whole embodying of the pineapple name.
Ah, got it, got it. So it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of, when I saw it, I was like, there has to be a story behind
You're not wrong.
that. But I think that's, I'm curious as to how much that is played into, like I said, the brand and the way that, people come to understand, the value of what you do. Because I think as a business owner, sometimes, we can talk about the services that we do. And a lot of times, like even for myself, a lot of my services, they're very similar to other people. But what people tend to gravitate to is the story and what and how have you seen people gravitate to the story of your business?
It's a really good question because I think I always get the question, where the heck did pineapple come from? And I know in your business too, it's all about the story, to your point right there. Um, the brand has been a big piece of it. People know me as Pineapple Jack, and I'm totally okay with that. I have a very, very good referral partner who sends me all sorts of business. And at one point, he was like, "Actually, I don't. What was your last name again? I just call you Pineapple Jack." So there's a certain brand to it, and it honestly was not by design, but it's worked out well. And the other piece that I kind of cheesily associate is that whole like, you're visualizing yourself on vacation drinking out of a pineapple. Well, I'm going to help you visualize your data first. And it's kind of like
Nice.
this weird little cheesy thing that I get to correlate between the two.
Nice. I think that there's so much valuable psychology behind that because one of the things that I started learning when I was starting my business off is just the psychology of the buyer. And one of the things that came up in that was like, when people are in a good mood when they think about your business, it's just like it makes the relationship that you're going to have with them flow a lot better as opposed to, it's part of the reason why I don't like doing tax because most people, when they think about tax, they have all these bad feelings and emotions. And I'm like, I don't want to be connected to
Right. You're absolutely right. That's a great reason not to do tax. Not that there aren't a dozen already, but it's so true too.
that. Because it's one of those things that I thought about. I'm like, maybe, it's a reason why people only talk to their tax person maybe once, maybe twice a year. And it's just because it's like there's all of these bad emotions that they connect with it. I'm like, man, if you're thinking about pineapples and vacations, like, hey, you know what? That's a great strategy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I may have subconsciously done that, but again, happy accident.
Awesome, man. So, one of the things I want to go back to, you talked about, just kind of in your history with, just being with tons of data. I mean, from, working in, financial sectors from different aspects to just trying to be able to tell a full story in 3 minutes. And I think that's one of those worlds where a lot of finance and accounting professionals are finding themselves in. And from talking to them, many of them feel highly, highly underprepared to be able to do that. So how did you start to kind of get better about being able to tell a concise story or tell a complete story in 3 minutes?
It comes with practice for one. There's books on it out there. Believe it or not, there's several books about picking the right visual for whatever data you're showing. And there's a lot of like studies around it too. And not that I've read every single one by any means. A lot of it has just come from practice. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the conversation with the client. So if I know that we're focusing on, we'll just use simple examples, I don't know, like revenue and profit. Um, if I know they're focusing on revenue, then all right, we're going to have a big KPI, big key performance indicator at the top that is revenue, and it is plus 5% year over year, or whatever the number is. And so, boom, right there, easy, you kind of know it. Then we have like the revenue trend graph. So you can see the past 12 months, past 24 months, whatever. You can have your future months if you have a budget in there too. It kind of sticks around what is most meaningful to the client, which is reflected in those key performance indicators, of course. And then building out kind of how they run their business within a dashboard. So like I said, that normally starts with the big, bold numbers and colors in their brand colors, of course, too. The KPIs at the top. And then if there's somebody that is very like recurring revenue, it's okay. Just picked up a new client. So 12 months later, I'm still going to have that client. What does that look like for my total revenue? So in that case, we build a visual that's forward looking, right? If it's kind of one hit wonders and projects here and there, then it's maybe something marketing focused or a little bit of like cost per acquisition or something in that realm where it's that big visual under the KPIs is telling them how that individual project is selling, how that individual service is selling, whatever it is. So it really ties into how they run their business and then whether they're looking kind of in the moment or forward looking.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, when you started, kind of building these dashboards, what was kind of people's perception when you started, really introducing them to a dashboard view of the numbers?
Most people said, "What's that?" um, Honestly, that's kind of where it started. It's a bit of a new concept in the small business world. I know there's certainly some early adopters. It's becoming a bit more mainstream, I would say, fully embedded in the corporate world. So for the folks that have recently started a business and just came out of the corporate world, it's a bit more ingrained. But the conversation goes like, okay, would you rather look at a black and white income statement from your tax guy that you see once a year, or look at these charts and graphs in your brand colors? And they start to kind of like, oh, okay, all right, obviously not just the black and white boring piece of paper. And then in my business, very much seeing is believing. It's all about the visuals. So showing them an example of, look, here's your bar graph and here's your trend. And, here's your percent to budget each month kind of thing. And they get to see that visually. It makes a lot of things click for them. So it's kind of an educational process going through from when I started and still is today.
Gotcha. So now if people are interested in checking out your, seeing some of your work, where can they find you online or where do they go online to find it?
So absolutely. And thank you for that. First place is my website, honestly. I'm all over LinkedIn too, but best place is probably my website, which is pineapplecf.com, as in pineappleconsultingfirm.com. I've got all sorts of examples on there. I've got actually just put in a demo so you can actually go in and play with a sample dashboard that I have embedded in my website. So all sorts of fun stuff. It's obviously a very visual website, and you'll know you're on the right site because there's a pineapple on the beach as the background.
All right, I want to give people a little bit of a taste of it because I'm looking at the website. I mean, by the way, super cool website.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's definitely some awesome things here. I mean, from the gathering the data, the visualization. I mean, even just some of these dashboards here are phenomenal. And I know you and I talked about this before. I mean, with some of these dashboards, with something like this, if someone's like, well, I don't know, are these all custom built for every single client?
For the most part, I have a kind of a starter offering, if you will, that is just templated off the shelf, kind of just like what's your whistle a little bit to kind of get the feel of a dashboard for your business. but for the most part, everything I do is pretty customized.
Got it. Got it. Now, for one of the questions that some people may have is, when they see something cool like this, they're like, is it in a proprietary software? Is it something that they can share with their team, or, how do they get access to it once they work with you on that?
Right. Great question. A lot of times, honestly, I'm just playing around in Excel. Excel is absolutely my best friend. I would say the majority of my dashboards are in Excel, and they're just completely customized to whatever business we're working on. The other offering I do is web-based, slim minority in terms of percent of my business, but it's through a program called Google Data Studio. And that's actually the one I have embedded on one of the pages on the website. And it's very similar, also super customized. You can share it with just obviously like any Google thing through just an email address or anything like that. Or you can put it protected somewhere or whatever. But yeah, Google Data Studio and Excel are my main two. Google Data Studio is just a visualization platform that makes actually the one that you're showing on the screen there is the third one from the bottom, or the third one down,
Okay.
rather.
Okay.
So it all looks kind of the same, but whatever makes sense for the client, whether it's sharing on Dropbox or having a shared Google Drive or whatever it is, sharing is a fairly easy thing to get through in my business.
And I want people to be able to see that. Like, I mean, this looks super cool. I mean, to be able to, like I said, see the story of your data, be able to see the KPIs. I mean, even just the geo view of it. I mean, just to see it on the map, like that's huge for any business, especially if you're trying to figure out, where your sales are coming from, what geography, and all of that great stuff. I mean, that is huge, and it looks amazing.
Thank you. I agree, though. It's very big to see, and even obviously that's a total U.S. map there. But even if we just did something, we're both Charlotte based, so if we did something that was just like Mecklenburg County or something,
Mhm.
you could go down to the zip code level and kind of
Wow.
see which zip code is doing best or not. So there's a lot of cool functionality with that.
Got it. Got it. Now, something else that caught my attention on your page is I see the videos here. Tell us a little bit about, what can people expect from the videos here?
A lot of the videos are just these quick little minute long things, because I don't have a short attention span. I know a lot of other people don't either. So I try and do everything in under a minute, but it's basically just here's my business, here's something cool that I made. This might help you. I don't know, but I just wanted to share. That's kind of the
Got
gist
it.
of all the different videos on. There's a few different interviews that run longer and stuff, but it's a lot of just demonstration and here's how the dashboard works. And I have one that's like, here's how to update it with it's in Excel. And I timed it out. I think it took like a minute and 30 seconds or something like that.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, again, where can people find you online and on social media? Can you repeat that for the audience again?
Yes, absolutely. So that website we're just looking at is pineapplecf, as in consultingfirm.com. And then LinkedIn is the other one. You can you can LinkedIn search, I suppose, either Pineapple Consulting Firm or my name, Jack Tompkins. And I will hopefully be one of the first ones to show up there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, before we wrap up, one question I always like to ask every guest that comes on. I mean, and I'm very interested in your perspective on this. Is when you think about, the things that you kind of learned from your career to now being in business and the clients that you've worked with, what's two pieces of advice that you would share with other small business owners?
Two pieces of advice. For small, well, I feel like one of them has to be trust your data, or look at your data rather. It's always nice to know, and I say this all the time. There's everybody got into business with their gut instinct, right? I think this is going to work, and run my business through your gut. Nothing wrong with that. Just give data a seat at the table. I like to say you can be completely right with your gut instinct. You can be completely profitable with the help of data. So that would be
I
number
like it.
one. Number two is, I would say, kind of almost sticking with a theme, maybe just the broader theme of visualization, is whatever you're offering out there, make it so that you can understand it in 3 minutes, right? or even just look at something real quick and understand, get a number, revenue up year over year, 5%, like we we're talking about earlier, get that in 5 seconds. So something that's very, very quick to digest, and whether it's you're selling something or you're trying to run it internally or whatever it is, make sure it is kind of concise. And I'm obviously very partial to visuals in order to get that done.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. And I love what you said about, that your data, it really is the key to you being profitable. I mean, that is huge. I absolutely love it. Well, Jack, thank you so much for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Topkins, aka Pineapple Jack.
Thank you so much for having me, Terrell. Always a pleasure to talk with you, man.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.